Hello everyone, hope you're doing so well and having an amazing week. And welcome to this little video all about the oil paintings I'm working on at the moment. There are loads, I have so many to show, and I haven't done a video like this for a while, but I thought since I do have so many, it might be nice to update. And thank you so much for incredible comments on my last video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new. In addition to all this fun, I actually have a few frames that I want to show, just to sort of give inspiration if you're interested in frames. I know it doesn't sound like the most exciting thing, but I just happen to have some here and I thought I should demonstrate what some frames that I look like. I have to say that finding frames for oil paintings, my least favourite thing on earth when it comes to art and oil painting, because I do find that finding the right frame is one of the most tricky and frustrating things. It's a bit of a hoo-ha, but forget that. Let's talk about some nice paintings first. Incidentally, all of these paintings will be in my Etsy store, and I will leave a link in my description, and I will definitely leave a link in the comments. Somebody called me out last week and said that they couldn't find my link anywhere. The thing is, unfortunately, sometimes because there are numerous links that I have on my Etsy store, I sometimes just write the name of my store, and I think sometimes that's probably not good. I should just actually do the link like a normal person. Next up, I have a really interesting couple of seascapes. The first one is once again by Moonlight, and please ignore this little bit here because actually I've only just started to varnish it, and then I realised that the moon hadn't dried. I always check these things, but I hadn't actually put my finger on the moon or anything. I try not to disturb the paint. I just assumed because everything else was dry, even the seafoam, that the moon was dry too, but it wasn't. It is now, of course. So I started to varnish it and then I stopped before I, ruined the painting, and which is fortunate. And so yes, this is this is a seascape, a beautiful galleon at night, just drifting peacefully along the sea. And I had this story that the sea captain had actually fallen asleep and in the galleon, and had drifted into this sort of magical land with pink clouds and beautiful wildlife around it. So yeah, I felt quite peaceful and relaxed painting this. I do really like imagining ships and the sea in different time periods, because that is when I think ships looked the most beautiful, when they were designed in this sort of way. This frog that actually was a proper fully formed frog in a woodland forest. Okay, that's what it looks like. And then what happened was I left the painting to dry, and then so many other paintings took priority, and so I left it for a long time, and then I went back to the painting and I thought, this little frog, as much as I like it, I would really like it to have some sort of costume. So I took it out of the forest, I changed the background, the pipe smoking thing is still going on. I feel like frogs and pipes got to go together. Like, they would definitely smoke pipes and have Elizabethan collars and look extremely fancy. And this this frog is one of those frogs that all he likes to do is relax in his armchair after a long day of being a frog, and enjoy himself by a crackling fire. That's my theme for this, and it's particularly relevant, I think, at the moment, because it's getting really deep into winter, and those winter months where you just feel like being cozy indoors. And perhaps this frog has slippers too. It's got the whole velvet slippers, maybe even velvet trousers, who knows. So speaking of anthropomorphic animals, I don't know why I have the glove on because this is slightly dry. Speaking of anthropomorphic animals, and actually this one and the latter have already been varnished, so mega shiny. Speaking of this, I do really, on this theme, I sort of got into painting a lot of lavish costumes. And so this hare, rather, is particularly erudite, and he understands that he is extremely important. And I loved the idea of this majestic animal walking into a room full of perhaps other animals all dressed up, and he wants to command all the attention and make sure everyone looks at him because he's wearing, you know, his finest robes. I'm painting this particularly the background because I was actually using a limited palette and I wasn't planning to do green or anything, but it just, the more I sort of smoked out the colour, the more this green sort of appeared, and I thought that's a really beautiful colour, and so I sort of made it into a kind of minty shade, which is just amazing. Sometimes I think it's amazing what oil paint can do in terms of vibrancy. So yeah, so next up we have a sneaking about cat. Now this cat just loves sneaking around at night, particularly around ruined castles. I don't know about you guys, but have you ever seen a ruined castle at night? I guess it's just me. Maybe I just seek out these things. But you know, certain ruins look particularly beautiful when sort of the moonlight is out, and they have an eerie and spooky feeling about them, but also quite an inspiring one as well, because you get to see, particularly in terms of the lighting, you get to see, you know, where the light falls, and of course that can make amazing paintings. So the moonlight is definitely falling upon this cat, and once again it is a very important cat, you know, dressed in finery, or rather has a fine collar and a particularly wealthy owner, I guess. And on that theme, I decided to do a bigger seascape. I haven't actually totally finished this because I feel like it needs something a little bit extra here. But yeah, once again, this is just a similar sort of utopia style scenery where it's just basically paradise, where this ship, and this ship is sort of intentionally going there to sort of seek for treasure and things like that. And I wanted some sort of a sunset and, you know, not so dark at night, just to experiment with colour really. And yeah, I went really wild with the colour here. I don't know whether you guys prefer a more limited palette or prefer a more not limited palette. Just one more frog, because who can resist? And this is a frog that I think I did it the day before yesterday. And this was because I had a panel where I'd created this water mixable oil painting on, which I didn't like, and so I thought I've got to paint over it, and so I created this drunk frog. And I have to say that when there's a witty story in my paintings, whenever I go back and look at them, I sort of laugh and think about, you know, sometimes I think, what was I thinking? And then I laugh when I think about the story. And so this frog is basically on, you know, has just walked into a bar and has ordered his absolute favourite tipple. And of course he's so overjoyed that he's made it through the wind and the rain to finally get there to his favourite pub to have his favourite drink. And he's so excited, he doesn't even take his coat or his scarf off or find a seat. He just stands there in the sort of shadow of the pub and sips his finest drink. So I'm just going to move this so you can see a little bit. And actually this is really inspired by just old pubs and just loving the ambience of them. And I love the sort of, especially in old pubs in England, you get a very brownish, amberish light from them. And I really wanted to capture that in the background of this painting, because that was actually more of an inspiration than painting the frog itself. But yeah, I also like the idea of just painting drunk things, drunk animals and drunk people, because capturing them in paint is even funnier than in photography, in my view. In fact, yeah, I do plan to paint more drunks. Actually have, which is, funnily enough, it's a gold leaf frame. And I just really like the look of it. Now, I wanted to make a point that it's such a funny thing about frames because it's such a personal thing. And I know a lot of artists, they avoid gold frames. The reason being that some galleries, they tend to prefer sort of more white in the frame. So they may have like a little bit of gold, but most of the time they tend to be white. So it's a funny thing because I do feel as though, because some of my art has a sort of classical look, particularly this pair, but even if it's a little bit more modern, I feel like gold frames have a really nice vibe to them. They have a very antique look, and I still really like them. Now I know that, as I said, some people for modern art, they do prefer the white frame, so it's just one of those things. But I did really like this frame and I haven't used it yet. This was doesn't have a border, like a big border or anything. And I do really like painting still life. And so this pair, it's just like, you know, one of my recent still lifes, but I actually used to paint a lot of them when I started oil painting as a kid. And actually the things that I painted most were anthropomorphic animals, so that hasn't changed. Fantasy landscapes, so that again hasn't changed. But I did, and just landscape in general. Also monsters and weird creatures, again, that hasn't changed. But still life was something that sort of fell by the wayside in a way. I guess it's because it's not necessarily seen as such an exciting subject matter. But I'm trying to get back into it because I do actually really enjoy still life. To be perfectly honest, I think I enjoy painting everything. It's just I tend to paint certain things more than others. I sort of gravitate more to certain things. But I do really enjoy painting fruit and stuff. And I know some people can't stand it or they can't stand the genre of still life. But I still really like it. And I really like looking at still life in history. Final one, final painting. I suppose you're probably thinking, like, I've had enough. I don't want any more paintings. Oh, there's always more. There's always more. So finally, this is a still life that I completed just today. And this is a more full-on still life, so it's not just one pair, singular pair. I'm not sure if you can see it properly because it hasn't dried yet, but this is obviously an apple and a jug and tablecloth here and table. Yeah, so I just really enjoy painting this, and of course it has that sort of old country house vibe, I guess. And yeah, I really was experimenting more with colour schemes rather than an actual story because I really wanted it to be more light and airy and just a sense of harmony and tonal look to it. So yeah, it was much more experimenting with colour like the pair was. Of course, that's much more dark and much more, in a way, slightly gloomy, whereas this is the more upbeat. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just quickly, here are a couple of other frames. The frame that I bought, I think it was online quite a while ago, and I haven't used it yet, but I really like the colour. So it's not this really bright gold look, it's really muted. It's an antique gold look, sort of faded. And then this is the complete opposite. So this is a frame that I've seen quite a lot of other artists use for sort of fantasy work. And this is, as you can see, super bright. And this one is like, you know, much more muted. I do like both, but I haven't used either of them as yet, so they're just kind of like pending frames. But as you can see, I've got so many paintings that I'm just like, what do I do next? In my Etsy store, there are some paintings that I don't have a frame, quite a few actually, and the reason being, it's not because I can't find frames, because I absolutely can. I just always worry that the frames people won't like. So that's why I don't always frame my paintings, because I think, well, since I can't make the decision, then somebody else might just choose their own frame and they will like that better than my ideas, because I feel like my ideas on frames, they tend to differ quite a lot to what other people think. I tend to like the ornate ones more than the plain, whereas I think it's probably more fashionable to go for the plain one. Hey my friends, I do hope you enjoyed this video and it wasn't too arduous and boring. Probably was, but if you made it this far, then you win a bun. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Take care, guys. Oh, let me know which painting you like best, and leave me a comment, and check out my Etsy store. Yes, hooray!